And we are live from Bloomberg's world headquarters in New York. I'm Sonali Basak.
And I'm Tim Stadovak. Welcome to Bloomberg Crypto. We'll look at the people, transactions, and technology shaping the world of decentralized finance.
And Bitcoin is back above $100,000, and it pushes closer to a record high as trade tensions are easing.
Also, the Trump family continues to benefit from this run-up in crypto prices. Now we learn that the Bitcoin venture American Bitcoin, which is partly backed by Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr., will go public.
And some of the biggest Trump meme coin holders have been invited to a dinner with the president. Who's on that guest list? We're going to dig into that.
That's all ahead over the next half hour right here on Bloomberg Crypto. First, though, let's get a snapshot of what's been happening with Bitcoin over the last few weeks and really since the beginning of the year. Because if you look back at the beginning of April, Bitcoin's up about 30% or more just since those lows. In fact, it's even getting close to those all-time highs, which were reached back in January of this year. That was around the president's inauguration. That was close to $110,000 per Bitcoin. Bitcoin has surged past gold and tech stocks alike in the month of April, and it really rekindled that debate over whether or not it serves as a refuge, Sonali, from market turmoil.
And Tim, I'm looking here at Coinbase because maybe this is a little bit of a sign of the times. There's big news for the company. It will join the S&P 500 before trading opens on May 19th, and it will replace Discover Financial, a little bit of a new money, old money thing going on. Coinbase, of course, has been soaring. Over 2 days, it's at the highest levels now since February. It is now a nearly $65 billion company compared with less than $52 billion for Discover. Fun fact, Tim, there are interesting stablecoin payments you can be making on Coinbase, and they come often at a zero fee.
Oh, okay. Look at Coinbase, especially on a day like today. Well, for more on crypto markets and all the news happening, we're joined by Crucible Capital general partner Meltem Demirors. Meltem, we're going to talk about the price action in just a minute, but I want to start with Coinbase being added to the S&P 500. Is this a turning point? Is it a moment, or was this sort of just natural and expected to you? Because I got to tell you, to me, it kind of feels like, okay, something's happening here. This is actually happening.
I think it's very much expected. If we look at Coinbase in terms of assets under custody or deposits Coinbase holds, if we compared it to all of the banks in the US, Coinbase would be a top 20 bank by deposits. Coinbase is a massive financial institution, and I've always maintained, instead of crypto trying to become like financial institutions or working with financial institutions, the Coinbases of the world, Anchorage, right, becoming a federally chartered bank, acquiring its own stablecoin protocol, Galaxy uplisting to the NASDAQ, my former company CoinShares, we're a listed company in Europe. Crypto companies are becoming institutions in their own right. So to me, this is just a natural continuation of a process that started nearly a decade ago.
You know, another thing that I think a lot of people don't understand quite yet about Coinbase, they think Coinbase and they think Bitcoin trading. And of course, the exchange business has been a major business. But do you think this really sets the ground for how Coinbase is really on the brink of becoming a much larger financial company? If you think about exchanges, the tokenization of certain assets could bring about more exchange-like business. You think about stable coins, that makes it a payments business. Where is it going next?
I think here there's a great analogy. If you look at all of the different services that are offered by a bank, from retail through to commercial through to treasury, all of those services today can be done on chain. You can borrow money using your crypto as collateral. You can borrow money using other assets as collateral. You can engage in trading, but there are a lot of other functions, payment processing, and also, by the way, like developer integrations, developer APIs. Coinbase has a huge platform that provides financial infrastructure, allowing other companies to embed crypto rails into their back end. So as I think about the direction that crypto is moving, really what Coinbase is demonstrating is we see Coinbase, in my view, becoming a full-fledged financial services institution that provides enterprises, retail, everything in between, governments as well, to access the crypto economy. But let's not ignore, it's not just the Coinbases of the world. Ethereum up 50% over the last 7 days. What is so exciting to me about crypto is not only do we have companies like Coinbase that are bringing the off-chain economy on-chain, there is a massive burgeoning, nearly $4 trillion on-chain economy that is absolutely flourishing.
Okay, but before you go, I want to get your thoughts on the Bitcoin price action, especially during the month of April, up more than 30% since those April lows, kind of leading when it comes to, when you compare it to equities, it moved ahead of equities, and we saw a little bit of weakness yesterday. 'Cause I think we saw the optimism on Sunday play out. What's your view on the way that Bitcoin has moved just in the last couple of days?
Pain trade. Last week, stocks down, Bitcoin up. Volatility on Bitcoin still very low. Not a lot of open interest, right? We're still about 40% below the levels we saw in January and again in March. So activity really suppressed. If we look at flows for the year, we hit a high of around $7.5 billion of exchange traded product flows into Bitcoin in Feb. We're at around 6.8 billion now, so we're still not there. This is a pain trade, right? This week we had stocks up, Bitcoin down. I think most hated rallies never fail when it comes to Bitcoin. We're seeing it in tech as well. Bitcoin rally here. It's unclear to me what's driving it. I wish I could say we're decoupling. I don't really buy that narrative yet. Bitcoin 30-day rolling correlation to NASDAQ, which represents tech stocks, is still 70%. So I think we need a bit more time, but big pain trade. I know a lot of people were sidelined. I was on here last month calling for Bitcoin down, and here we are, we're up. So I'm in the pain trade too.
Meltem, we appreciate it. Stick through the pain. It's a long year still ahead of us. That is Crucible Capital General Partner, Meltem Demirors. And new this morning, also on the rise, by the way, Robinhood has agreed to buy the crypto platform WonderFi for about $179 million. WonderFi operates 2 Canadian cryptocurrency platforms, and Robinhood shares are up almost 10% on the news. The acquisition is expected to expand access to crypto trading for Canadian users. And for more on this, we are joined by Johann, Senior Vice President and General Manager of Robinhood Crypto, certainly overseeing a business at Robinhood that a lot of people want to know much more about. When you think about the potential for this deal, what does it really add for you?
Yeah, I think for us, adding 2 of the longest running platform in Canada is a big way for us to enter our mission to bring Robinhood into the market. And we think that it's going to be a really big way for us to actually bring what customers are looking for with local experts that know how to build product for Canadian customer.
You stated that ambitions are global. We know that. Look, today's announcement about Canada, that certainly plays into that. What about other regions, though, on the horizon? Where are you thinking next?
Yeah, we're already live in the UK, for example. We have a brokerage already live there, and in the EU, we also launched in a select region and of the EU our crypto platform. So we are going to keep developing on it, and we also have another product called Robinhood Wallet that is already live in many countries of the globe. So for us, the ambition is to have Robinhood available everywhere, and right now today is about Canada. Yeah.
What about Africa?
We definitely believe that the African market has a lot of opportunity for crypto. You see a lot of adoption for digital assets over there, especially for stablecoin, for example, like countries that want to get away from their local currency and actually use stable to have a bit more access to the dollar, for example. It is something that is really interesting, and in those countries, a customer can actually use the Robinhood wallet there.
I look at Robinhood stock this year. Tim, it's up almost 70% on this year alone, and the S&P 500 is roughly flat. And a lot of this, yes, comes from more activity in regular way trading, but crypto is a big promise. Investors are looking at how big this crypto product can get. You compare Robinhood to Coinbase, for example. Coinbase's shares are only up 2.7%. It does draw the question for me how much you're looking to compete with Coinbase for custody, for assets under management in the space of crypto.
Yeah, at this point, Robinhood is mostly focused on retail customers. So it is something that is very different from what Coinbase is doing, since they have access to both institution and retail. But at the same time, we want to offer the best product out there. We already offer the lowest cost in average for crypto. And we think that the more we expand our offering, the more customer can benefit by using Robinhood instead of a competitor.
I've got to ask you also about something that has nothing to do with Robinhood in a prior matter at WonderFi, because this is a crazy story. You had your chief executive officer, Dean Skurka, who was kidnapped last year and held to ransom. And WonderFi, or not yours, but WonderFi's. WonderFi is a company here that, you know, has seen many sides of crypto in that way. What do you learn from an experience like that?
You know, for us, it's the same thing. We have to make sure that we have the right security for all our executive, and it's something that we monitor closely at all time.
Is that something that has changed in the last few months? Is that something that you've become more serious about, or has it always been like that?
No, I think, you know, we always took care of all our executive, and it's something that we also want to make sure that for anything that we do at Robinhood, right, like customer asset under management, we are employing like some of the best-in-class security just to make sure that, you know, customer assets are safe and that everyone at the company is also safe.
Now, we have reported here at Bloomberg that Robinhood is in talks to develop a blockchain-based platform to allow retail traders in Europe to trade securities such as stocks. What would this open up that is not currently available to traders? And how far does it bring you on this journey of tokenization when it comes to real assets or traditional way securities?
Yeah, so, you know, we believe that tokenization is the future for traditional finance. You already saw it with stablecoin, for example. The way that a stablecoin is able to be exchanged 24/7 without risk of fraud, without risk of reversal, it's been one of the best innovation in the traditional finance space in the past few years. And we actually believe that the crypto technology, which is really the blockchain technology, can be applied to a lot more assets than just currency, like the dollar. We actually believe that, you know, with tokenized asset, we will be able to reduce settlement time, improve liquidity, improve financial inclusion for a lot of people that are still staying away from the markets. And Robinhood was actually invited at the SEC roundtable yesterday about tokenization. And a lot of the topic was about exactly this, like how do we actually create a framework to bring tokenization and to bring all the type of assets on-chain instead of just a few assets at this point.
Johann Kerbrat, Senior Vice President and General Manager at Robinhood Crypto, joining us from our DC bureau. Johann, thank you so much. Do appreciate it. Well, coming up, some of the biggest Trump meme coin holders have been invited to a dinner with the president. Who's on that guest list? We're going to dig into that next. This is Bloomberg.
As it relates to the Trump family, I guess what I would say, my message to the Trump family would be, you know, be transparent. You know, if you're not doing anything wrong, I'll accept on faith that you're not doing anything wrong, but be transparent, because we're in a partisan tribal environment and you got to let people know exactly what you're doing. Otherwise, people are going to assume the worst.
And that was Anthony Scaramucci on Bloomberg on Monday saying how he thinks that the Trump family should be transparent when it comes to its involvement in the crypto industry. And speaking of crypto and President Trump, the Trump meme coin buyers have been invited to a special dinner with the president at one of the country clubs that he owns. You can see these images are from the official website for the event. 220 Trump coin holders determined by their holdings of the meme coin have been granted a seat. And the dinner is set for next Thursday, but it's unclear who will actually be in attendance. Now, the list of attendees only shows the names of digital wallets, and a Bloomberg report has dug into that data in an effort to see who might actually be at this dinner with the president. Let's bring in one of the investigative reporters behind the report, Anthony Cormier. Now, this data that we have found, what does it say exactly about the people who have been buying the coin and what kind of access they want with the president?
Well, that's a really great question. It's really difficult to know, as you guys both know, who is actually behind some of these wallets. Crypto by nature is super opaque. In this case, they only have to list a 3 or 4 letter username, so it's really impossible to know who's going to be in a room with the president during this sort of vital moment. So what we did is we downloaded the entire lead report, and we went one by one to understand where they acquired their stakes. Because as you probably know, there are certain exchanges that are based offshore that are not allowed to service American customers. They do KYC, know your customer checks. You're required to give them a passport or an ID so that they are sure you are not American. So we were reasonably able to conclude that those are people who are foreign buyers. We found that more than half of the people on that leaderboard were foreign, or likely foreign, and that all but 6 of the top 25 people who get a special VIP tour and a meet and greet with the president, all but 6 of those people are likely foreign buyers as well.
Maybe if somebody from the administration were sitting here right now, they'd say, so what? Who cares?
Sure, totally fine to borrow from Mr. Scaramucci's line. If you're not doing anything wrong, please be as transparent as you possibly can be. This is the President of the United States. These are influential people who have acquired shares in his company or in his meme coin. And on paper, every time the price of that coin goes up, the family stands to gain.
We have less than a minute left here, but does this draw larger ethical questions down the road? Campaign finance is a very highly watched and very disclosed industry here in the United States, but does that break down when it comes to crypto?
Certainly the Democrats think so, right? You've seen 2 Democratic senators, Schiff and Elizabeth Warren, file a letter asking for an investigation, and those are the exact points they're hitting on. We don't know who these buyers are. We don't know what they want from the president, potentially. And any matter of sunlight transparency is good to this, to not only the president, but to the crypto industry as well.
Just 20 seconds. Will we know after this dinner happens who was there?
Not as far as we know yet, but we're digging really hard.
But ostensibly, the Secret Service needs to know to do background checks and get an understanding
Sure,
of who's
there's
going to
a
be,
whole
if the president does
And are
indeed
they
go
delegates
there.
or are they holders? Are they actually sending people?
Yeah.
That's a
who
great
bought
question. We've got one of these meme core. It's called meme core. Are they sending their VP? Are they going to send someone who they, again, delegate? The Secret Service, we presume, is going to do the checks, but the White House has not told us exactly what they're going to do yet. So there's a lot of questions that's to be answered by May 22nd.
Don't miss Anthony's story, of course, on Bloomberg.com and on the Bloomberg terminal. That is Bloomberg's Anthony Cormier.
Well, that is going to do it for Bloomberg Crypto. Join us again next week for another edition of Bloomberg Crypto. And thanks for sticking with us today. Do appreciate it. This is Bloomberg.